Hello there. Hi. It's Veronica Valley, and we are live this morning for the 9 a.m. club. The 9 a.m. club is where we meet every morning and come together and ground ourselves, release some of the negative energy that we've been building up inside of us. In the last 24 hours, we do some tapping, and I usually have a reading. And today I'm going to be talking for a bit longer because I'm going to be talking about the 5 pillars of sustainable sobriety and how to apply them during this particular crisis that we're in. So apologies for I was 1 minute late starting. I was trying to order my mum groceries last night in England. She lives in Norfolk, and there's no time slots anywhere for anything. And I still had the order up when I was just getting ready to do this. And I just thought, I'll just quickly look. And they had time slots. And I was like, and I quickly booked a time slot, and I got a time slot for my mum tomorrow. So I'm really grateful for that. So I have a lot of gratitude right now. So I hope you guys are doing okay. Let's start with make sure you have washed your hands and used hand sanitizer before we start tapping. It's really important because we'll do the COVID-19 sequence first, and then we will do some tapping on the face. And make sure you have washed your hands or you've used hand sanitizer. Okay, so this is a new modified version of tapping. So we're just going to tap and breathe. So just tap with me on either side here. Alternate sides. Hi, Annie. Top of the head. We're going to miss the face. I'm going to do both sides of the chest. Under each arm. Wrists. So make a cross and then do the other side. You can do it like that. And you can do it like that. It's where the watch strap is. You can also do fingers here. This, by the way, is a way you can tap in secret. So if you were in a meeting, you could do it under the table. Not that anyone's in a meeting right now, but if you were in the future, you could do it under the table so nobody knows that you're doing it. Take a deep breath. Check in with your bodies. Notice how you're feeling. Our feelings and emotions show up in our bodies. But we have got into the habit of pushing them down, ignoring them, suppressing them. And all of those negative feelings build up, build up, build up, build up. And when they build up, that's when we look for outside things to try and fix an inside problem. That's when we use alcohol and drugs and food and Netflix and phones and all of that kind of stuff. So let me know how you're feeling, and let me know what you want to work on today, how you're doing. So we can do a round of tapping. We're going to do tapping on the face, so make sure you use the hand sanitizer. And we'll do just tapping on anxiety and fear. So you're just going to copy what I do and repeat what I say. Even though I have all this anxiety building up inside of me, sometimes I can't sleep and my thoughts are racing. Right here and now, I am safe. Even though I have all of this anxiety building up inside of me, and I can't sleep, and my mind is racing. Right here and now, I am safe. Even though I have all this anxiety building up inside of me, and I can't sleep, and my mind is racing, right here and now, I'm safe. Anxiety, we're going to tap around the eye socket, beginning of the eyebrow. Anxiety, end of the eyebrow. Anxiety, underneath the eye, can't sleep. Underneath the nose, can't sleep. Underneath the lip, mind racing. Anxiety, anxiety. Take a deep breath. Check in with your body. Sylvia, I'll tap on that in a second. So I have a reading, and then we're going to talk about the 5 pillars. This is from Byron Katie, Loving What It Is. Byron Katie developed something that's called the work, which is a method of inquiry to shift how we feel about things. So notice when your thoughts argue with reality. The only time we suffer is when we believe a thought that argues with what is. When the mind is perfectly clear, what is what we want. If you want reality to be different than it is, you might as well try to teach a cat to bark. You can try, and in the end, the cat will look up at you and say, meow. Wanting reality to be different than it is hopeless. You can spend the rest of your life trying to teach a cat to bark. And yet, if you pay attention, you'll notice that you think thoughts like this dozens of times a day. People should be kinder. Children should be well behaved. My neighbours should take better care of their lawn. The line at the grocery store should move faster. My husband or wife should agree with me. I should be thinner or prettier or more successful. These thoughts are ways of wanting reality to be different than it is. If you think that this sounds depressing, you're right. All the stress that we feel is caused by arguing with what is. People new to the work often say to me, but it would be disempowering to stop my argument with reality. If I simply accept reality, I'll become passive. I may even lose the desire to act. I answer them with a question. Can you really know that's true? What is more empowering? I wish I hadn't lost my job, or I lost my job. What can I do now? The work reveals that what you think shouldn't have happened should have happened. It should have happened because it did, and no thinking in the world can change it. This doesn't mean that you condone it or approve of it. It just means that you can see things without resistance and without the confusion of your inner struggle. No one wants their children to get sick. No one wants to be in a car accident. But when these things happen, how can it be helpful to mentally argue with them? We know better than to do that, yet we do it because we don't know how to stop. I am a lover of what is, not because I'm a spiritual person, but because it hurts when I argue with reality. We can know that reality is good just as it is because when we argue with it, we experience tension and frustration. We don't feel natural or balanced. When we stop opposing reality, action becomes simple, fluid, kind, and fearless. So I thought that was interesting about arguing with reality. Because I've talked before that we're all in a grief process, and the end part of that is acceptance. And that doesn't mean we love what's happening. It's great. We approve of it. It doesn't mean that. It means we accept that this is right where we are. This is how things are. And there's some peace to that, rather than the internal argument of why is COVID-19 messing up my life and everything, because this is just how it is. And we can choose our response. That's all we can do right now. This lack of control, we are all of us so powerless and have no control over so much that is happening. We get to choose our response. Okay, so let's just do a little bit of tapping about this feeling of having lack of control. So you can just copy me, make sure you've used the hand sanitizer, wash your hands, and let's tap on the feeling of not having any control. Even though I don't feel like I have any control, and that feels scary and unsettling, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have no control right now, and that feels scary and unsettling, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have this feeling that I have no control, and that's unsettling, and it frightens me, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Control, 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 control. Take a deep breath. Pay attention to what's happening in your body. So I want to talk just quickly about the 5 pillars of sustainable sobriety, because I'm just, this is a big time for drinking. People are hoarding alcohol. A lot of us are getting the to hell with it, I might as well be drunk. And again, that's an argument with reality, because none of those things are going to improve this situation. They're going to make it worse. So the 5 pillars of sustainable sobriety are balance, connection, movement, process, and growth. I almost forgot them there. So let me talk about the first one. The first one I usually go to is movement. So movement works in 2 ways. We have to, first of all, exercise is the best way, one of the best ways to take care of our mental health. It's really a cornerstone. And I'm not an exercise guru, but I do know as long as there is breath in your body, there is a way you can move. So I'm not saying go do CrossFit or do an Ironman challenge. I just mean walk or dance around your living room. Or if you're confined to a chair, you can move your arms, your upper body. It takes a conscious effort to do that. Now, the reason for that is we need the serotonin hit, the chemical change in our brain that occurs when we exercise. So if you are suffering from depression, exercise is the best treatment that you can possibly have. Right now, most of us get to be able to go outside and walk and run, and that's pretty much it. And we can do exercise routines and that kind of stuff. But walking, you need to be getting up and walking once, hopefully twice a day. You need to be out, and you need to get that chemical hit in your brain. It will make such a big difference. I noticed when I didn't really exercise for 2 days here, and I basically didn't leave my bed because I was either sleeping in it or working from it. It really affected my mental health. So make the decision to do that every day. So the thing about the other part of movement is about being purposeful about the direction of our life. So when we are drinking, we tend to not be very purposeful about the direction of our lives. We think we can, but we're often at the mercy of the elements. We're just reacting to stuff that happens, and we often feel like we don't have much control or power. When we get sober, and in this situation, we can make the decision to be purposeful about the direction of our life. And it goes back to that reading, whatever your circumstances are right now, and I know so many of you have very, very difficult ones. If we accept what is, this is square one. I don't like it. I didn't have any control over it happening, but this is where it is. Then I can make the decision about what is square two. What happens next? If I'm still arguing with reality and resisting, then all I'm doing is wasting my energy over trying to make a cat bark like a dog. So we want to be clear, have more clarity and be more purposeful about the direction of our lives. Even in this situation and even in this confinement, the 9 a.m. club was a decision I made to be more purposeful about the direction of my life in these circumstances, because I knew it was not good for me to just have every day feel like it was Sunday. So to get up Monday to Friday, get my makeup on, get showered, get my kids organized, get teeth brushed, get the kitchen organized, and start here with you at 9 a.m., that was me being purposeful in this situation. You can do the same, whatever your version of that is for you. Maybe it's getting up and joining me and making sure this is how you start your day. The second pillar is connection. So this is really important. We all need meaningful connection in our lives. We need that like we need air and food and water. Without meaningful connection, we become very dysfunctional and we suffer greatly. So what I mean by meaningful connection is meaningful connection is with, and it doesn't have to be with lots of people, but it's with people who know our souls. People who really know us on the inside. And again, when we have an alcohol problem, that tends to be something we push away. We're frightened of people seeing us really up close. We're frightened of people knowing who we really are because we don't like ourselves. We think they're going to see something awful about us and they'll reject us. So we just keep people away. Now, here's the thing about meaningful connection. We can only have meaningful connection if through the path to meaningful connection is down the road of vulnerability. We have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and really seen and really known. And that feels very challenging. We have been conditioned in our culture to believe vulnerability is a weakness. And thankfully to Brené Brown's work, we now know that it's an asset and a strength. But it can feel very scary. Now, particularly interesting at this period in time, because many of us are isolating with their families, and many of us are on our own and not able to be around other people. And isolation is not necessarily good for people with any kind of alcohol or drug problem. However, I really want to say that online connection is a decent alternative. Now, when I first moved to America, and I moved to Long Island 5 years ago, all of my close girlfriends are in geographical different parts of the world. So not only do I keep my connection with them online, in fact, we have some of my girlfriends in Europe, we have a Zoom call next week together, but I have actually made really good friends with people that I met primarily online, and then eventually down the road met in person at some kind of sober event or whatever. So I have probably at least 4 girlfriends that I can think of who live in different parts of the country that I met online in sober groups, hit it off, got on, and when the opportunity arose to meet in person, we were able to do that and found that connection was sincere and authentic as it was online. So I want you to know that even though this is hard right now, and particularly if you are living on your own, building up online connections is going to be really, really helpful. There are lots and lots of groups popping up. AA is doing all their meetings online, but there's lots of other groups as well. Find one, stick with it, and go to it regularly. We can't build up meaningful connection when we just hop about here and there and don't allow people to know us. We have to allow people to know us. So I think it's a mistake. It's almost like there's too many options online right now. Find the thing that works for you and stick with it and build up connections there. It's a decent alternative and it will help us enormously. I've had several calls with people that have just really kind of filled my cup for that day. And I'm so glad that I made the time and we did it and we had conversations. They've been really, really awesome. So that's movement connection. The next one is balance. So balance, whatever the question is, balance is always the answer. So let's talk about balance. But we all have what I call a balance plate. If you imagine I'm holding a plate. And that plate is divided up with our needs. We all have different needs. And the art of balance, the art of being human, is to balance those needs with our changing circumstances. So in early sobriety, the balance that we have to strike is around the HALTs, which is hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed. HALTS, HALTs. So if we don't take care of those needs, and those are pretty urgent needs, I mean, we can't go too long being tired or hungry, for instance. If we don't address those needs, we get in a bad place really, really quickly. We just feel it. So we have to, so here's how I do this. Whenever I feel uncomfortable in my own skin and out of sorts and just not good, the answer is always balance. Something needs to be balanced. Something is out of balance. Now, here's the thing about balance. It changes with our circumstances. So back years ago, before I was married and had kids, I was exercising every day, like really exercising, doing yoga and swimming, like tons of stuff. I was able to do like an evening meditation. I was able to do lots of personal development work, lots of times for my friends, all that kind of stuff. Then when I got married and had kids, that all changed. I had no time and no energy, which was, we can be out of balance for a little while, but if we go too long, we really feel it. So after a while, I was really, really, really feeling it. I was feeling not having any meaningful connection with my girlfriends. And I was really, really feeling not really exercising and not really taking care of my emotional health in the way that I always have done. So we have to, whenever we just feel out of sorts, we have to go back to our balance. So some of you might feel very out of balance because we're not getting enough connection. Well, then we have to look at how we can get that online. even have a conversation with our neighbor over the, garden fence or whatever? Are we exercising enough? Are we one of the things that I'm noticing in our day, because every day just feels like the same, is I got to kind of change up the routine. Like it just makes me feel out of balance. Like it's every day the same thing at the same time. So like yesterday we let the kids play outside really late and they were playing soccer, and it just needed that breakup of routine. So check your balance right now. What need are you not meeting? The next pillar of sustainable sobriety is process. So process is, we are all in a process. Right now, we are in a process. We are in the grief process, very much, all of us globally. For what we have lost, for the big change that has occurred, we are in a process. So we are in processes. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. We're in the process of understanding. We are always in the process of learning. And here's the thing about process. We have to process our past because our past shows up in our present. And you may not like that fact, but it's true. Running away from our past is much harder than processing it, healing it, and taking the teachings from it. So process work at some point is essential to sustainable sobriety. We have to do that. The last pillar is growth. There is a universal law of life. We are either growing or we are dying. You can look around, you will see that to be true in nature, in business, in communities, and in people. When I was drinking, I looked like somebody who was walking around the earth. Like you'd look at me and think I was fine, bit of a party girl, but fine. Inside I was dying. My spirit was dying because I wasn't who I really was. So when we get sober, we are called to grow. We are called to grow. There's something deep inside of you that's calling you to grow. So we have to honor that. Now, here's the thing. When we get called to grow, it's always beyond where we are right now. And when we do that, we'll hit an upper limit. Upper limits are basically our limiting beliefs about how happy we believe we can be, how much money we believe we can make, how successful we can be. So you will have this. Most people have this when they try and stop drinking. There'll be this calling inside of you, like, this isn't you. This is wrong. This is not for you. This is destroying you. You could be more. You could be different. So one day you wake up and you can't ignore that calling, and you decide that you're going to try and get sober. And what happens is, getting sober, you'll hit your upper limit. The other side of that is the unknown. You have no idea what a sober life looks like for you. Like, how are you going to do the things? How are you going to have fun? It can be scary, the unknown. What happens then is the ego kicks in. The ego will kick in and go, I don't know. Like, I think you're fine. You're not that bad. You can probably manage a couple. It just needs a couple nights off here and there. And what happens is your ego pulls you back. And it's very uncomfortable when the ego kicks in. Like, the ego will kick in because the ego's job is to keep you safe. And the ego believes familiar is safe. So many of you have been through this experience where you've thought about quitting drinking or tried to quit drinking, and then that voice really ramps up and pulls you right back with all these persuasive, seductive comments to persuade you to stay exactly where you are. And you listen to it and you stay exactly where you are, and that discomfort leaves you for about 15 minutes. And then that calling happens again. That calling inside of you to grow. And then you'll come back here. Now, we keep doing this with everything until we feel the fear and do it anyway and get through to the other side. You've been able to do it at different times in your life, but it's usually more accidental than design. But we have to grow. We are being called to grow. It's essential. Getting through these upper limits, it's simply a life skill. It's just a life skill that we can learn to deal with navigating the ego, dealing with all of the fear and the feelings that will occur every time we're called to grow into a different part of our lives. We'll never get rid of that fear. It's just part of the deal. So I hope you found that helpful. That's one of the things we need to be thinking of right now. I want you to let you know that the Sober for Life online sobriety program is open for enrollment for just the next few days. Now, typically in the Sober for Life online sobriety program, it's a subscription group, is $24 a month. It's the cheapest we could possibly make it. We have lots of workshops. We have lots of we have an intuitive eating coach. Chip Summers, my podcast co-host, facilitates a lot of groups there. But we've changed things just temporarily for April, and I'm sure into May as well. We have about 25 support groups right now that are professionally led. And that's the important thing I want you to know about the Sober for Life online sobriety program. Chip and I are both qualified clinical psychotherapists. So when we facilitate groups, we do it with decades of experience. So it's not a peer support program. So as soon as you join, we have a group running today. You can join a group. You can get some help from either, I think Chip's probably doing it today. I don't think I'm doing it today. I'm doing one on Saturday. You can get in front of Chip, or we also have another addictions therapist, Tamara. You can let us know what you're struggling with. You can let us know what is difficult right now, what you need help with, and we will be able to talk to each other. We will be able to give you some coaching, some support, and you can come to as many of those groups as you want to. So for 25 groups, if you attended all of them, it would be less than $1. There's also on top of that a community of support. There's a community all over the world. You can post questions, you can let people know how you're doing, all of that kind of stuff. There's also there is some workshops going on this month. Chip and I are going to be doing a workshop later on in the month. We're going to take you through a written exercise that we do with clients called the true cost of drinking, which is one of the ways that we help people deal with FOMO, the fear of missing out. So the link for that is in the description or in my bio on Instagram. The sooner you join, the sooner you can participate in all of those things. Enrollment will close next week, but we have groups running pretty much every day between then and now. So if you're in need of support, go to it. You can cancel anytime. There's no obligation. And like I said, it's $23.99 a month. It's the most affordable that we could make it. We hope that you will find it an very valuable resource right now. I'd appreciate it if you feel that anybody else would benefit from that. You would spread the word to other people as well, and also about the 9 a.m. club. Thank you so much for being here. I will be back tomorrow. Oh, Chip and I will be live in the Soberful Facebook group on Saturday morning for a Q&A session. Check the Soberful Facebook group for information about that. We will answer your questions about anything to do with sobriety as well. And that's taking place on Saturday. All right, my loves. Bye, bye, bye.